Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to the March 10th, 2020 meeting of the Ascension Parish Planning Commission. We are only four tonight. Mr. Dumas, Ms. Hutchings, and Mr. Hodgkins are not here yet, but we are a little bit early in starting. I would ask everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we get staff introductions, please?
Stacy Webb, Secretary for the Planning Commission.
Spencer Long, attorney for the Planning Commission.
Jerome Fournier, Director of Planning and Development.
Eric Poche, Senior Planner.
All right. Item number 5 is the chairman's comments. Chair has no comments tonight. Item number 6 is a public comment on any agenda item. We do have some public hearings scheduled tonight, but if you'd like to speak on any agenda item that is not scheduled for a public hearing, now is your time to speak. Ms. Stacy, has anyone signed up yet?
No.
All right, we will go on to number 7. Mr. Hodgson has just appeared, and we started early, so that's could be the problem. All right, number 7 is staff report, subdivision staff report. Staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have in front of you, as usual, the subdivision status report for the month of March. Any changes are noted with asterisk. If there's nothing really of huge note on here, but if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Questions and or comments? Item number 8 is the engineering staff report.
There's no report this evening.
Item number 9 is a motion to approve or deny the minutes and written decisions of the February 10th, 2021 Planning Commission.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second.
Motion to approve by Mr. Chasson, second by Mr. Carmouche. All in favor?
Aye.
Any in opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. I'm going to give, and Ms. Hutchings just appeared, so we are all present except for Mr. Dumas, who will not be here tonight. I'll give you a second to get your iPad up and running, because TV started us early tonight.
I see that.
All right, while we're waiting, just to get up to speed, and before we move on to the consent agenda, Mr. Chasson, do you have a motion on the consent agenda?
Yeah, I had a motion to remove Riverton from the consent agenda so we can have some discussion on it.
Second.
We have a motion to remove Riverton from the consent agenda. We will put that on under old business on item number 13. We have a motion by Mr. Chasson, second by Mr. Furman. All in favor? Aye. Any in opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. So the consent agenda will be amended. The consent agenda, which is item number 10. 10A is the affidavit of mortgage declaration for Roger Paul Babin, now deceased, lots B3, 41433 Black Bayou Road in Gonzales. Item 10B is the affidavit of mortgage declaration for Lane N. Bennett, lot 73, 18825 Faubacker Drive in Prairieville. 10C is affidavit of mortgage declaration for Bradley Berneman, unnamed tract of property, 38148 North H. Armand Road in Gonzales. Number 10D is the affidavit of mortgage declaration for Wesley Simino, lot 11A, 45209 Highway 429 in Sanama. And 10E is the affidavit of mortgage declaration for DB Windsor LLC, lots C2A, C2B, C2C, and 29.332 acres. 38469 Louisiana Highway 42 and 17136 Blue Ridge Drive in Prairieville. Do I have a motion on the consent agenda? Motion by Mr. Furman.
Second.
Second by Ms. Hutchins. All in favor?
Aye.
Any in opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes. Item number 11 is a public hearing to approve or deny the following family partitions. 11A is the Rena Scott property, lots B1 and B2, McGlynn Taylor, and this is in Council District 8.
Ellen Jackson with McLean Taylor Incorporated, asking for your approval.
All right. Staff?
Yeah, so this was back before the commission because she was unable to execute the acts of donation in the time period required, and it's basically the same thing that was approved back in November of 2019. There were no comments and no changes to be made to the map. It meets the family partition code.
All right, we'll go ahead and open a public hearing on this. Ms. Stacy, has anyone spoke on this?
No.
Signed up to speak on this? We'll close the public hearing on this. Questions, comments, and/or motion by the commission?
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Mr. Furman,
Second.
second by Ms. Hutchings. All in favor?
Aye.
Any in opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes. Item number 11B is a public hearing to, or the Hubert J. and Lula Armand Property Tracks A and B, Earls and Associates. Mr. Falgout.
Yes, sir. James Falco, representing Earls and Associates and the Burnham family on the following family partition, asking the commission for approval.
Staff?
All comments have been addressed on the map, and it meets the family partition section of the code.
Yeah, the staff analysis indicates the property division does not currently meet the requirements. Is that a typographical?
Yes, that's a typo. There was something in the interim that was addressed when he revised his comments, and I missed that whenever I did the.
Okay. We will open up a public hearing on this. Ms. Stacy, has anyone signed up to speak on this? We'll close the public hearing on this. Questions, comments, or motion?
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Chasson, second by Mr. Furman. All in favor?
Aye.
Any in opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. All right, item number 11C is the Elmo Cannon property lots EC1, EC2, and EC3. Mr. Falgout?
Yes, representing the Stewart family on the following family partition, asking the commission for approval.
Staff?
Yes, the comments have been addressed, and the map meets the family partition section of the code.
All right. Open a public hearing on this. Ms. Stacy, has anyone signed up to speak on this?
Yes. Timmy Brignac.
Mr. Brignac?
My name's Timmy Brignac, and my family and I own several large tracts of property adjacent to the 5-acre Leo Stewart property being considered for petition this evening. Our adjacent property has been in the family for almost 100 years, and it contains crawfish farms. These farms get inundated with rain runoff from several miles all around, at times because of landfilling in our parish and unmitigated landfilling in our parish, and unfortunately due to improved drainage of properties upstream of us at higher elevation. We're the last properties before the Amite River Basin and adjacent swamps start. The water has to go somewhere, right? But these floods have become higher and more frequent over time, and the parish has grown, and little to nothing has been done to help the drainage situation with the road ends. We have hundreds of old oaks dying and on our properties, and the ground has become saturated by the swamp that no longer drains to the Amite River because of growth along the river and lack of sufficient drainage of the swamp. Basically, our family property is being more and more used as a surge for the rest of the adjacent area for miles. As farmers, we're great stewards of the environment, and we're careful not to contaminate it. But being the last property, we're at the mercy of everyone else upstream of us. And many people do not respect the environment like we do. One such property is this 5-acre parcel that is becoming before the discussion tonight. Mr. Stewart recently inherited this property, but the property has been a subject of controversy in his entire life, my entire life. It has been a dumping ground for countless salvage vehicles, tires, basically oil-filled junk. I'm talking about thousands of tires, not just a few, most of which are still buried as fill material on the property. This is illegal, and it was illegal when it was done by the now owner. You may think that this petition doesn't affect anything, but it does. The owner wishes to use the property owner's rights to a family petition of the property and put it in someone else's name to put a distance between himself and the actions on his own property, all while burying his junk deeper, leaving it to a future generation to deal with. Leo Stewart has shown great contempt for his neighbor's rights and for the laws and ordinance of this parish and of the state. 100% of the runoff of this property passes through our property and through our farms. Last year, Leo completely disregarded parish field maintenance, mitigations, and ordinances. He dug a pit on the other neighbor's property and filled half of his own property to approximately 3 feet. He dug on his neighbors because, in his own words, he said he could not dig anywhere on his own property without hitting tires or old cars, which is very disturbing. I have witnessed this myself, and I have photos that I've provided to the parish.
This land filling by Mr. Stewart last year required hundreds of unmitigated loads of dirt, which is many times the limit allowed without a permit. He knew beforehand, and he completely disregarded Councilman Melancon's first-hand instruction on what is acceptable and what is not. Timmy also pointed out to Leo that he could not do what he was doing, and he was met with threats if he told anyone. Many neighbors feel threatened, and so they wouldn't come here tonight, but Timmy's not going to be threatened by anyone into accepting this, so he came to speak for them. We have too much to lose. Half of Mr. Stewart's property is the mitigation for the half that he has already filled by at least 3 feet. These south partitions start at a drainage ditch in the center of his property, and this south half has always held water. It's a bowl just like most of the property was before he filled it in, and it would take 7 to 8 feet of fill to make it to the parish's minimum elevation and the 100-year-old flood mark. Can a mitigation or detention pond be separated from the rest of the property it is mitigating? I don't know. I know that it shouldn't be allowed. I ask that this petition be denied until this mitigation is settled and a proper detention for this runoff that he created is managed. If not, then me and my family downstream will be the ones taking on this responsibility, just like we have for many people within miles of us. We're refusing to do that any longer. If Mr. Stewart does not want to mitigate to improve this property that he now owns as of recently, then he can sell it all intact and let someone else more responsible do it. That is his right. I and my neighbors and family ask this Planning and Zoning Commission and other parish authorities that Mr. Stewart's petition be denied until a resolution is in place, and we also ask that the following actions be taken outside of this petition review. We ask that, number 1, his fill already completed be mitigated by an impoundment on the south lower elevation of his property before it crosses the parish road onto our property. This impoundment will also ensure that most contaminants and toxins will fall on his own property and not just flow onto our property and onto our farms and ponds. Number 2, the field mitigation plan is completed and it's in place with parish approval. And number 3, the existing right-of-way given by his mother to the property behind him is brought up to code with an entrance and a culvert on his own property. Thank you for your time. Shonda and Timmy Brignac.
Where do y'all live?
My family property is adjacent to that property. We have 15 acres next to them.
Are you on Gary Babin Road, or are you still on Burke?
My primary residence is on Jim Myers Road.
No,
This
but
was my
the
grandfather's
adjacent
home.
property, is that on Burnt Cane Road?
It's on Burnt Cane, the dead end road on Burnt Cane Road, and also has frontage on Gary Babin Road.
Okay.
All this that you are alleging, was this on the property that we're looking at today, or is it on an adjacent property?
No, it's on his property, the 5.1 acres that he wants to petition.
Okay, because in the email that we had received, I think all of us, or I did at least, received an email from you. It appeared that it was a different property that was on Butch.
No,
Butch Gore.
Leo Stewart's 5.1 acres that he is petitioning,
Mhm.
it is on that property, right dead in the center.
And that's where the tires are buried and.
That is the photos that
Okay.
I sent to the parish of the tires all piled up and all of the dirt fill, all of that is on his property. But the photos were taken standing on the neighbor's property behind him.
Right.
He did not come tonight, but Oscar is the one that lives behind him
Mhm.
and is very concerned about the road and then only the 20-foot frontage that goes back there.
Back to our
When
decision.
did he acquire ownership of the property? Because they're saying he recently inherited it. When did the
He,
ownership?
in June, he inherited it from his mother,
June of this year?
last year. June of
Now,
20.
does that affect
So-
a
Well, then he
family
wouldn't have
petition?
owned it for 3 years.
Their allegations would
Right.
affect a family petition.
I don't know.
I'm not sure what the question is.
That's more directed towards staff.
Yeah, okay.
If he acquired the property through an inheritance, he still qualifies to be able to move forward with a family petition.
Yeah, that's like my grandfather's, we had it for about 100 years, and I'm one of the heirs.
Yeah, well, the code requires that somebody have an ownership of it for 3 years before they could partition. So that's what I was trying to see. If he owned it for less than 3 years, he wouldn't be able to partition.
He took possession of it, and the paperwork is documented in June of 2020.
Okay.
What's the zoning in that area?
It's conservation, 1 unit per acre.
And it's just, conservation only allows, it doesn't allow for landfills?
No, it does not.
No. What they're alleging is illegal dumping.
Yeah.
Who's retaining ownership of EC1? I don't see that on the plat.
Well, let's move on with the public hearing, or the comment section, public hearing, before we go on to many more questions, because I want to get that done. Thank y'all, appreciate it. Ms.
Thank you very
Stacy, is
much.
anyone else signed up to speak?
There's someone else, but he doesn't want to speak.
Is he for or against it?
Against.
Okay.
All right. Mr. Falgu, I mean, does he want to build houses on these
No.
lands, or
I
what are
mean,
we doing?
The elevation of the land's so low, I mean, if it would be something elevated on, from what I was told, that his daughter is looking to put a mobile home on the lot by the pond. So you're not looking at building a big dirt mound or anything like that. It sounds like it's a civil matter more than a planning commission matter. I mean, it's, we're talking, this meets all the codes for a plan partition, but if there is illegal dumping and stuff like that, that's civil. That's out of our reach.
Yeah, I don't know, I honestly don't know if he is illegally dumping on that property and using it as a landfill in violation of the code. I don't know that necessarily prevents him from partitioning it. However, it's something I think the council should look at, enforcement of zoning ordinances and things of that nature to prevent these things from happening.
But I do have a question. So I see where Leo Stewart's getting EC3. Jessica Ullman, the daughter, is getting EC2. Who's getting EC1?
The front lot, that's where he currently lives now. They wanted the partition, you can allow for one lot up in the front because it's simple division with enough acreage. But they will be giving the other lot to the daughter, another daughter, but she's not as 18 yet.
Thought if you were doing a family partition, you could only
Legal counsel
get
on this?
one lot.
Whether or not we can take action?
Well, the only lot that's
You know.
being created by the family partition is the EC2 that he's given to his
Legal
daughter.
counsel?
Both the other
Should
lots
seek
are
legal
being,
counsel
or
on
created, he
whether-
had frontage on Burnt Cane and Gary Babin, so EC1 and EC3 are being created by simple division. EC2 is the only one that's being created by the family petition.
So I don't know he's new, but we should ask legal counsel. It might be something you were aware of.
I have a question. Mr. Falgu, what's the last track? It says rear half of Oscar Forest, and it looks like there's a home back there. Is that part of this partition or not?
No, this was all, I think, a 10-acre tract at one time, and it was divided up into 2 lots.
And this servitude, or this gravel driveway, is that a servitude?
It's an existing servitude, yes, sir.
And that's gonna be the access to the back 2 lots?
Yes, sir. Back lot, yes.
Counsel, Mr. Long, can we deny a family partition based on illegal activities vis-à-vis the zoning code if the family partition meets the requirement?
Chairman, I don't believe so. I believe if it meets the code for the family partition, that would not be a valid reason to deny it.
All right. Anybody care to make a motion or any other comments?
Yeah, I move we approve the family petition.
All right, we got a motion to approve by Mr. Furman,
I'll second.
second by
Reluctantly.
Mr. Chasson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition? All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Hodgson?
Aye.
Mr. Furman?
Aye.
Ms. Hutchings?
Aye.
Mr. Chasson?
Aye.
Mr. Carmish?
Aye.
And the chair votes in favor, so the vote count would be 5-1, if my math is correct, and the family partition passes. I would encourage the parish, whatever zoning enforcement, to get out there and see what this guy is doing. If he's not adhering to the zoning laws or the environmental laws, to shut it down, because I don't like this at all. All right, next item on the agenda. Pull up my agenda here. Is item 12, a public hearing to approve or deny the following preliminary plats. Pelican Crossing 4th, 5th, and 6th phases, major revision. This is in Council District 2, Quality Engineering and Design. Mr. Murphy?
Commissioners, good evening. My name is Derek Murphy of Quality Engineering and Surveying, representing Enquest Development regarding Pelican Crossing, 4th, 5th, and 6th filings. This project has overall been approved for many years now. With, I think, last month or the month before, y'all had approved the final plat on the 5th filing. Last year sometime, we came back in front of y'all about doing this revision, but it was prior to the 5th filing and prior to some amenities being constructed. The developers have worked out a lot of stuff trying to help Pelican Crossing, the earlier filings. The amenities that are constructed right now is a clubhouse, a pool house, a clubhouse, a pool, gazebos, walking trails, and so forth. The biggest reason that we were able to do this at this time, make these revisions, was because the base flood elevation at the time, since the last Loma, was reduced by over a foot. And what that allowed us to do was not have so much floodplain mitigation. In our original traffic impact study done, we had more than these number of lots of the addition of the 24 lots. So this has been ongoing. We've been back and forth with y'all. Mainly, there's two things. The major use is, one, that we added some added a street network, not necessarily the lots, because we're well within the 10% increase, but also reduction in the green space, because we were able to increase all the amenities, which the requirement for actual green space reduced greatly because of the additional amenities put in. We think these amenities are going to be make this a higher end development. Like I said, it's got a pool, and not a lot of places have that, wharfs and that kind of stuff. So it is a destination. It is a nice area, and we're here tonight asking for your approval of this major change.
All right, we'll open a public hearing on this. Ms. Stacy, has anyone signed up to speak on this?
No.
All right, we'll close the public hearing. Staff? Kind of did that out of order, but
I'll start off briefly and then turn it over to Eric. This, as Mr. Murphy said, that we have gone through a lot with the developer on this. We've also met with the existing homeowners within Pelican Crossing. There's been an agreement that they're going to do the amenities that Mr. Murphy mentioned, and those are either installed or going to be installed.
No, they're
right?
installed.
They
Or they're
are
not.
installed.
They're underway. A
They're
pavilion post might be there, but they're all
Right.
90%. I'm finished. Is that correct?
So we've had communication with the Homeowners Association of Pelican Crossing. They're in agreement with the change based on some of the amenities that are being installed, right? And some of the construction that's apart from this preliminary plat approval. As Derek said, the parish went through a modification to the firms, which is the flood insurance rate maps for the Pelican, for Panama Canal, Conway Basin, and the elevation was lowered approximately a foot, maybe a little over a foot, and that allowed them to eliminate one of the ponds in this development. And so with that elimination, they were able to increase the number of lots. The number of lots that were increased was still underneath the number of lots that were anticipated when the traffic study was put together, right? So they're still below that threshold. So with that, I'll turn it over to Eric and give you some of the particulars on this.
Okay. All the requirements that have been placed by the planning commission up to this point have been done. All of the changes that they're going to make and what they have done is within the code. and all comments that we have made have been addressed on the proposed revision to that preliminary plat. If there are any specific questions about drainage and/or traffic, Mr. Sherrow can answer those.
I would like to say one more thing. It's a testament to, if y'all were here during the last Pelican Crossing or the previous Pelican Crossing meetings, this room was filled with those homeowners. The developers here have worked hand in hand very diligently with those homeowners associations in order to come to this agreement. They have access to amenities and things like that, I believe, and there was, even at the entrance off of 44, there was some, cooperation things going on and some agreements. So they worked hand in hand tirelessly to make sure that those existing homeowners are part of this. So. And I don't want to misspeak, so I think they have access to the amenities. I know they worked it all out.
Questions, comments, and/or motion?
I had a quick question. I see looks like there's 3 variance requests, and staff said that 2 of them are unnecessary. Can y'all elaborate on that?
Basically, the variance requests are when they were gonna do, side-load garages on the 53-foot lots, 53-foot wide lots. Since the homeowners association and the developer have agreed that they would allow front-load garages on the 53-foot wide lots, therefore, it was staff's opinion that those variances were not needed for either those lots or the adjacent lots to shift the setbacks of building lines on there. Now, Mr. Murphy may be able to answer or speak more directly to that, but that was the staff's take on it.
Yeah, so what had happened was you have a side-loaded garage, so your car had to turn. So what we did was, we still had the 10-foot between the homes, but we shifted it over where you have a 3-foot and a 7-foot, and then a 3-foot and a 7-foot. With a front-loaded garage, now that that's allowed, you can just pull straight in and you don't need that turning radius.
So I guess my question is, if y'all have reached an agreement, are y'all going to do front-loading garages, so
Yeah.
these variances are no longer being requested?
Yeah,
Or what's-
They were on the map, and I didn't think that they were necessary
We
because
can,
of
we
the.
can take them off. We're
Yeah,
good
I'm
with
just
that.
trying to
Yeah.
make sure we're clear on what we need to
Yeah,
do.
well, in the ones in the 6th filing, in the 4th filing, there are some side loaded. No, they're not. No, we didn't do any of them. I wouldn't want to pertain it to the 4th and 5th because that's existing. And I don't remember exactly but for the 6th, we can take that variance off if we want. It's not a big deal to us.
Yeah, I mean, we can change, what we can do is, we can look at it and make sure that removing it is not gonna affect anything. And, I mean, what you can do is say, if it's necessary for previous filings, we can leave it on there and have it specifically noted and remove it for the 6th filing or something to that effect.
Yeah, that's fine. I just don't want to leave a variance that's not necessary, but if you're asking for it and it's necessary, you make sure
No,
you
it's
include it.
it's basically left over.
Okay.
And it's because of the agreement originally done with the homeowner association. All that's been hashed out.
Anything else?
Yes, if you don't mind, I got a comment. I noticed on the review letter that we, CSRS provided on the traffic study, it said no additional lots created, therefore no new traffic study is required. The not needing a traffic study statement is valid, but the reason I miswrote that, it meant to state that the total lots are still less than the previous traffic study, therefore no study is required. I wanted to
Yeah.
clear that up.
Too, like, but
Yeah,
so.
I think they're adding 24 lots, but it was
Correct.
still under the cap.
Yeah, we originally had planned for a lot more lots than we were able to get with the mitigation requirements, so we were able to pull that back, but within.
When was that original traffic impact study?
It was with the original plat. So
Yeah, I haven't been here that long. I'm
It's,
just wondering, was that the,
2015.
Motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Ms. Hutchins, second.
Second.
By Mr. Hodgson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any in opposition? Hearing none, motion passes.
Thank you.
Moving on to old business now, item number 13 on the agenda, and we'll do 13A first, which is the Gerald W. Sides property. Staff, you want to fill us in on this?
Yes, sir. This property was approved back in August, and we have run up against the requirement with getting all property owners along the servitude of passage to sign a map. And the applicant was not able to obtain one signature, and what he's asking for is a 90-day extension because he didn't want to record the acts of donation, because basically you would have had a transacted donation that was recorded in the courthouse without being able to sign the map. So we wanted to try to avoid that, and it's anticipated that there will be changes to that requirement in the next couple of weeks. So I recommended that he come before you tonight and ask for an extension of 90 days from last month's meeting.
This is not the one where we were questioning the validity of the signatures on the
No.
map, whether they were fraudulent?
No, that was different.
Has that one
No,
come back up?
It's a different plat,
Okay.
but the idea, as Mr. Poche just said, that the parish council is going to be taking up an amendment or a modification to the ordinance that will no longer require all those signatures on the plat. And we're assuming that that's going to be on next Thursday's agenda. And so that requirement will no longer be needed if that ordinance change is approved by the council.
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve the 90-day?
Yeah.
Second.
All right, motion by Mr. Chasson, second by Mr. Furman, all in favor?
Aye.
Any in opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes. All right, then finally, 13, the new item, or the new addition to old business is Riverton subdivision. This was a final plat approval, is that right?
Correct.
Jerome, Mr. Fournier?
Yes, this is the final plat approval, the Phase 1 first filing of the project.
Okay. And Mr. Chasson, what is,
Yeah, no, I just wanted to clarify. So in the documents that were submitted, it mentioned the updated traffic study not being done until there were 478 residential lots, and I think there was also in another document some reference to the roundabout not being done until there were 478 lots. I look back at the minutes say second filing. And so I went back and actually watched the entire meeting. There's a discussion on filing versus phases, and ultimately what was approved at that meeting was that exactly what the minutes say, which is that the new traffic impact study would be done before final plat approval of the second filing, which the discussion was 168 lots. So I just want to make sure we're clear when we come back for the second filing that the traffic impact study per the original motion was, or the original approval was to be done before final plat approval of the second filing, which was 168 lots. And the discussion on the roundabout was that the roundabout would actually be constructed, the trigger for the roundabout construction was the 95th lot. And so just want to make sure there's no misunderstanding with anybody, since this in error said 478 lots, so that there's no issue later. And that discussion starts at the meeting was an hour. It's the 32-minute mark of the meeting. There's a discussion between Commissioner Pryor and Mr. Murphy, discussing differences between phases and filings. They specifically discussed that the first filing was 77 lots, the second filing was 91 lots, and that the start of the construction, the new traffic impact study would be at 168 after the second filing. And that was the motion that was made by Mr. Bishop and approved by this commission. And there was actually even clarification by Mr. Pryor when he was making the motion that it was going to be the second filing, not the second phase. So I just want to make sure there's no misunderstanding between staff and the commission and the developer on the trigger for both the roundabout and the new traffic impact study. That's about 300 lots difference.
Since Mr. Pryor and Mr. Murphy were present at the time this was made, I'll let you guys open the discussion on this, but.
well, I think the record, the video is obviously still there as to what was discussed, so the record should be clear. And I think if there was any doubt as to that, I think Mr. Chasson just clarified it. So it should be noted that when this comes forward for new phases and new filings, that those triggers that were discussed back in 2016, you said,
Yes.
be applied.
We'll look at that, 'cause I know the driveway permit and adheres to the traffic impact study and uses the 478 lots based on, it was the second phase versus the filing, so we need to look at all that, but yeah, so that's.
Well, I mean, we're just doing
Right.
this is only.
This is only the first.
Final plat of the first filing, so when new phases and new filings come up, staff be aware of that discussion. I do recall that vaguely, that there was a moving line on the traffic impact study. Of course, that was before, I think we had.
Impact fees, yeah.
Yeah, it was back when, and I don't think there was an engineering review agency. I think it was all done by the parish. So there is a record, and we need to adhere to the motion that was passed back then.
Okay. We will do that in detail. All right.
Perfect. And Mr. Murphy, just FYI, you might want to look at that too, so when it comes back up, we're all on the same page.
With
All right.
that, I'll make a motion to approve the final plat for the first.
We got a motion to approve the final plat of Riverton by Mr. Chasson, second by Mr. Furman. All in favor?
Aye.
Any in opposition? Hearing none. There is no zoning meeting tonight, correct?
No, there is not.
Well, it brings us to the last item. Mr. Dumas usually makes that motion.
I'll make the motion.
Motion to adjourn by
him.
Mr. Chasson. Meeting adjourned. Y'all have a good night. Thank you.